We were in an area that we were told was a free fire zone. Anything that moved, you shot at it, and it was a series. It probably was at one point rice paddies, but they hadn't been farmed for probably many years. It was a series of open fields and then hedgerows, bamboo hedgerows, and uh, that were built up on what were probably once at one time rice dikes. And walking conditions across the field, we had high grasses up to our knees, maybe higher, and we were going across these open areas and then into a hedgerow and then another open area and into a hedgerow. And it was sometime in the morning, probably mid morning, and as we came towards a hedgerow, we were in two columns. We had two. I was not the point man. We had two point men out, and the one in the right hand column took a hit, and the whole hedgerow in front of us, in both columns, we were all within one sort of area, heading towards the hedgerow. The hedgerow exploded with small arms fire, and the point man on the right hand column was hit. And how the platoon sergeant knew that he was, I'm not sure. Garner, uh, we called him Joe Garner, but it was actually Willie Joe Garner. But he grabbed me and Sailor and said, "Come with." We were in the left-hand column, and the platoon leader must have been in the right-hand column, sort of towards the rear, but I don't know that for a fact. But anyway, Garner grabbed me and Sailor and said, "Come with me." And so we crawled across the field to try to get to the guy that was wounded. And we got there, we were probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet from the hedgerow. And Garner says, "Okay, let's pick him up and carry him to the rear." So, you know, Sailor and I did just what he said. The three of us stood up and we're picking up the guy that was wounded. And of course, the hedgerow exploded again. And I actually was facing the hedgerow. And um, for a number of years after what I'm about to tell you, I didn't really believe that it could be true. But I've read about particularly police officers who said they've witnessed the same thing. I actually saw the bullets going around my head. Um, and I realized later, they were already past me by the time my brain registered that I had seen them. Um, but then I had this strange reaction standing there that I must be hit. There's no way that all those bullets went past my head, and I'm dying, and I'm on my way to wherever you go after you die. And I'm standing there having this reaction, and then I see Garner going down in front of me, and I realized that I hadn't been hit or I couldn't feel it. So I hit the ground, and Sailor was on the ground, Garner was on the ground, and Garner had a bullet through his forehead, and took at least a quarter of an inch gash up through his forehead and back towards the back of his head. But he was alive. And so Sailor and I don't know how we decided this, but we decided we had to get them out of there and we had to do it without standing up. And so we returned fire, and then he grabbed the other guy, who I think his name was Williams, but I can't believe I've never been able to remember the guy's name. I didn't know him very well. And I grabbed Garner and we started pulling him back, fire, pulling him back, fire. And in the midst of this, Garner was going into shock. I mean, his history was he'd probably been in country about 8 months. Great guy, and he had been wounded a few months before. He'd been shot in the stomach, and he had laid out in a field for hours waiting to be pulled out. And when they finally got him, they had to go in through his back to get the bullet out, but it hadn't hit any vital organs, and he was back in the field in a couple of months. But I think that's why he wanted to immediately go over there and get the wounded guy. That's who he was. But anyway, he was going into shock, and I could see his eyes rolling back in his head. And every time I saw that, I would yell at him and shake him. And somehow I had no idea what I was doing. He would come back, and then we'd pull him back further, and he'd start to go into shock again, and I'd start screaming at him. And eventually, we got him back far enough where we could get some help. And we pulled him out, and then we finally got past the next hedgerow where we could stand up and carry him. We had a couple of us carried him and Williams, and we by then there was a medevac chopper had come in, and we carried him to the chopper and put him on. And anyway, I had to stay. I would have liked to have gone with him, but that was not to be.
And Garner did not survive, right?
He did not survive. He died on the helicopter.
When you see his eyes roll back and you yell at him, do you remember what you yelled?
No, I think I was yelling, Garner, we're going to get you out of here. We're going to get you out of here. Because I knew his history. I knew what he'd been through. I figured he was, well, first of all, he'd been shot in the head, but the fear must have been pretty great.
And there was another wounded, right?
Well, after we got back, they then pulled, our platoon back and called in airstrikes, napalm, whatever, into the area. And then the platoon leader told me and Sailor and a guy named Michalski to get online. We moved over one field, sort of one block. You almost think of it like
Mm.
football fields with hedgerows around them. And we decided we'd go in through that way and try to get around behind the NVA. So platoon leader told me and Sailor and Michalski to get online and um, attack go across the field and attack the wood, the hedgerow. So the three of us spread out a little bit. Michalski had an M60, and we started firing and walking towards the hedgerow. And but the hedgerow had many bunkers in it, and when we got close enough, they decided to open up, and they returned fire, and we hit the ground. Uh, the ground was sort of a good bit of it was on. We had tall grass that had been napalmed. It was sort of on fire, or at least the embers of a fire. And we're laying in that, and I'm firing, and I hear Sailor way over to my right. Michalski was in the middle. I hear Sailor's M16 firing, and I don't hear an M60. So I don't know whether I yelled to Sailor. I can't remember. But you pretty much didn't have to tell Sailor what to do. Um, I decided Michalski must be hit. So, and then I started crawling toward, well, first thing I tried to get out of the embers. So I found a little area in the ground that was wet, somehow was still wet after napalm, and got in there and got myself wet, and uh, and then started crawling towards where I thought he was, and then I heard a groan, moaning, and got further, and we got over to him, and about the same time Sailor got there, we both fired at the hedgerow and started dragging him back, and then we eventually got him back, got him on a helicopter. Half his face was missing. He didn't survive.
You were 19 at the time still?
Yes,
Sailor and Michalski around the same age?
around the same age. Yeah. I haven't the book how old Michalski was. He might have been 20, but he was right around our age. Tall guy, nice guy. Uh, it's a shame. He didn't really have a chance. He was really shot up. But he was alive when we took him out. He was alive, but didn't last. Pretty pretty harrowing day, and I was pretty I don't know, scared, afraid, traumatized after it was all over. I was scared during it, and I was traumatized afterwards.
Meaning what? What do you mean?
I was sort of like just when your nerves get really frayed, and afterwards you could feel it.
Do you have the Silver Star still?
Yes.
What does it mean to you now when you look at it?
Um, I actually didn't think that day that I was entitled to a Silver Star. I still don't think that I was. I didn't really do anything extraordinary. I was like everybody else. I was afraid, and I just did what I thought I should do. And so when I look at it, there's a lot of people that didn't get any awards and should have. Um, Garner probably got a Purple Heart, but he was not going to leave somebody out there. So I don't know. It's a complicated thing.